this book, it touched my heart so much that I could not wait for her to be on the show today. So, Latresa, tell us just a little bit about yourself.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Kim, for the warm greeting and welcome. I'm so excited to be here. A little about me. I am from Detroit through and through. I was a motivational speaker for several years, a clinical therapist, a mindset coach. I'm an author, and I've also been in a few movies here lately. So I'm excited about that. I love people. I love youth and helping people. And one thing that I strongly believe in is that your story has solutions within it that are designed to impact the lives of those connected to you and those who you don't even realize who you're touching with your story. So it's to write it.
Yes, you better say that because we're going to get into that down the line just a little bit because I too, of course, the reason why I have an author series is because I am an author. But let's talk about you right now. So when I was reading over your book, I just want to ask you this question, Latresa, what inspired you or motivated you to write this book, Gate to Life?
Woo! Well, I'll tell you, I was praying one day. So in my prayer time, and I remember hearing the Lord say, write your story. And I'm like, writing a story? I'm young. Here it is, 2011. I'm dealing with all kinds of stuff. My dad is having health issues. My grandmother's having health issues. And you want me to write this story? Okay. But okay, I've never written a book before. What should I do? A lot of times when people are encouraged or they receive a word that is important for them to write their story, if they're not connected to people who've written or published a book and they have never done it, you experience some element of fear. Yes. But even with experiencing fear is just simply an indication you're on the right path. It's important not to quit in the midst of that journey. So the book Gate to Life started out as Open Doors. So at first I started writing that book, I said, Open Doors. And then I started researching titles. And I found that there were quite a few books with open doors. But the basic concept behind the book, from what the Lord shared with me about my life, is that each aspect throughout my life, there were points of decision that had to be made, which presents a gate. There's a gate, which is your point of decision. You choose whether or not to open that gate and walk through it. And depending on which gates you access, you can experience a different life. So throughout the book, I have it set up where you see the different gates, which are the points of decision that I had. And when the person turns to the next page, they see which decision I made and what were the consequences. Every action has a reaction. And I wanted readers, especially those who are like me, who lost a parent at an early age. For me, my mom died when I was 7 from AIDS, but also I dealt with so much depression and anger from that. I remember the suicidal attempts. I remember being angry no matter what. If somebody stepped on my shoe, I was ready to fight. I remember all of that. And a lot of times people who we encounter have experienced a major trauma, but we're so caught up in our own feelings that we assume that it's a personal attack. That woman that you may have encountered at the restaurant that gave you attitude, we don't know if she just lost a parent the day before. We have to have some patience with one another because we're all going through something.
Yeah, so that's good.
Look, I wanted to make sure that people saw the different gates and saw what the consequences were from accessing certain gates, because our youth are important. I designed this book to reach a youth who may be dealing with depression, who may be dealing with issues. They're constantly in fights and conflict and don't know how to mitigate those things. So I'm discussing some conflict resolution things. I'm discussing who's in my support circle. I'm discussing the different teachers and administrators and people who stepped outside of their own boundaries. And
Latresa, yes. Let me ask you some questions. Now I know you're gone and you don't took off running because this is such good information to us. But I want to get to some of these questions that I have for you. I want to pinpoint, like when your mom passed of AIDS, I want to know whether that inspired you, down the line as you became an adult. There's some questions that I still need to ask you.
Yeah.
Okay? So now, what I love too about your book is that you do talk about opening these gates of choices. I love that because you can either make and see, our choices are so very important because it determines who we become in the future. Is our choices, and what happens at that moment is our choices. And that's what I love about this book. So with that being said, now that your mom passed away, and she passed away with AIDS, which you and I were talking about how our community have lack of information. Let's put it like that. When it comes to something like that, tell the audience very briefly, tell the audience, how did you feel about writing this book and having to put the fact that your mom did pass of AIDS? And what did they call it in the county? They called it an orphan.
Right. For CDC, it used to be, the term was an AIDS orphan if you lost one or both parents due to AIDS before you were 18 years old. So I mentioned that I lost my mom when I was 7. I was devastated. For me, at that age, I remember all the different events. At school, they have the bring your child to work days, and then they have the mother-daughter events, and I could never bring my mom. So I remember that being a very devastating thing. And my grandmother was always working. Bless her heart. I'm so grateful for my grandmother. She passed in 2020, and I'm really hurt by that. But at the same time, I'm grateful for the sacrifices. So I remember being devastated. I remember being angry and wishing I was with her, my mom, when she passed. And as you're going through things and you feel like life is hell on earth, yes, you have a chip on your shoulder. Because if you don't feel that love and that support from others, people lash out. Trauma affects us all. So that was my piece on that. One of the things that I wanted people to be aware of, especially when we're talking about AIDS, in 2021, the CDC says that Black and African Americans accounted for 40% of the newly diagnosed HIV cases, those who are between the ages of 13 and older. Now, to put this in perspective, Blacks, African Americans, we represent only 14% of the United States population. So for 40% of the newly diagnosed cases to be from those who are Black and African American, that's devastating. Yeah, so we have to make sure that we're being safe. So that's another element of the book that I wanted to highlight, the importance of making sure we're being safe and that our actions affect more than just us.
What I would like for you to do, look into that camera right now and give some words of encouragement.
At this moment, I want you to see the beautiful gifts that you are. I need you to see yourself walking in that dream, in your destiny, not the issues that you're experiencing, not the negative talk that people have said around you, but see yourself victorious. You have to see it before you can experience it. Today, you're going to write your story with power. And as you're writing that story with power, you're going to be able to walk into places and change the lives of those who are connected to you. Remember, it's not the finances that matter. Somebody will invest in you. It's not the issues that you face. You are more powerful than you give yourself credit for. You can overcome those issues. It is not the people that have said negative things about you so that you couldn't make it. You're still here. So the fact that you're still standing and you're still here is the testament that you've already overcome those things, and you will overcome more. Just continue to pursue, overcome those things, and shine like the diamond that you are.